Okay, so this first example is an example when the quadratic formula turns into a rational solution. And what that means is that when we take the square root, it's actually a perfect square, and we can totally solve the problem without having to round decimals, type a square root into our calculator, type a non-exact square root into our calculator. So it works out nicely, essentially. So we're going to work through one of each kind. This first one, first step, notice we have to set it equal to 0 first. So to do that, we have to add that 6t to the other side. And now we add it to the part that has like terms. So 6t goes with negative 2t. So when we add that to the other side, we get 4t squared plus 4t minus 3 equals 0. Now that it's set equal to 0, we can go ahead and use our formula. So we find our a value is 4, our b value is also 4. Our c value is negative 3. So opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Again, just get used to putting everything in parentheses. It helps out with all those negatives. All over 2a. Okay, first big part we simplify, and this is the part that decides if we are rational or irrational, as this chunk under the square root. So we type these parts into a calculator. 4 squared is 16 minus, and then 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 3 gives us 48. And then that was a negative 3, so it's minus a negative 48. Like I said, the video from Wednesday, essentially if we count our negatives, we have 2 negatives this time, which means they will cancel out to become 16 plus 48 under that parenthesis. So we have negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 48, which is 64 all over, and then 2 times 4 is 8, so all over 8. So now notice, this much will be the same regardless of the type of solution that we're dealing with. You want to deal with the square root, deal with the bottom. Once we get here, what's going to change is what we can do with this square root. So square root of 64 is a perfect square. If you type square root of 64 into your calculator, you get the number 8. If you get a whole number there, you have rational solutions, you're good to go. If you get a decimal there, that's where it depends if the problem wants you to round to exact answer or round to a decimal. So for this one, it is just 8. So we can rewrite this as negative 4 plus or minus 8 all over 8. Let me get us some more room down here. And now we have to separate into our two answers. Always our case. So we have negative 4 plus 8 over 8. We have negative 4 minus 8 over 8. So work on the top first. Negative 4 plus 8 is a positive 4 over 8. Type that in a calculator and you get 1/2 or 0.5. Either way. In that case, with an exact decimal like that, meaning there's no rounding, I'm okay either way. On this other one, negative 4 minus 8 is negative 12 over 8. That reduces to negative 3/2, or again, if you type in your calculator, that would be negative 1.5. Either of those answers, perfectly fine. So there's our 2. So when it's a perfect square, that means it is a rational answer. That means we can fully simplify it out and get 2 exact answers.